Hi, this is Stuart Nachbar with Educated Quest. With me today is Andrew Cohen. Andrew leads the visitor experience team at Georgia Institute of Technology, probably better known as Georgia Tech. And Andrew is now also the president-elect of the Collegiate Information and Visitor Services Association. And that's an association of about 1,600 people who manage the visitor experiences at their colleges and universities all across the country. Oh, Andrew, thank you for joining me today.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Why, I'm curious, Andrew, before we spoke, you mentioned that Georgia Tech does not have an official visitor center, where parents and students gather to learn about the school and begin their tour and meet students. How does Georgia Tech welcome people in the physical sense, in
Yeah.
buildings and space? And what else on the people side does Georgia Tech do to make its guests feel welcome?
Yeah, for sure. So our visit program, when visitors do come to campus through our daily visit program, they are actually hosted in our brand new John Lewis Student Center that opened to our community in August of 2023. And so we have a great theater space that we use on a daily basis for our visitors. And there's no better place to be to understand and experience student life than being in our student center with plenty of food options. Our books, our Burdell's, one of our two bookstores here on campus. So everything that you need right in the heart of campus. And so it really has worked really well for us and our visitors to be in a great brand new space in the heart of campus.
Now, parents and students, they gather into the theater, and do they hear a a video presentation as well as students when they
Yeah,
meet?
for sure. So our typical visit, which I think is probably pretty standard at many institutions, we offer a 45-minute information session that introduces students to Georgia Tech, as well as introduce students to the holistic application review that we utilize here at Georgia Tech, but definitely pretty common for students that are applying to other schools that utilize a holistic application review. Those sessions are actually conducted by admission fellows, is what we call a team of more seasoned student employees. So students that have worked either in our communication center and answered our phone calls and emails for our office, or maybe as a tour guide, and wants to take that leadership to the next level and apply to become a fellow and actually do these presentations. I think they provide a really valuable experience as current students that I, as someone who did not attend Georgia Tech, just can't share authentically as authentically as they can. And then after that information session, they go out on about an hour and 20-minute, hour and a half campus tour with a tour guide.
Now, you mentioned fellows, and I imagine that's something, as you've just said, that's something you have to work your way up to. You have to earn it.
Yeah.
When someone says, I'd like to work here, what kind of training do they receive, and what kind of development do they receive that they might be able to become a fellow?
Yeah, for sure. So, like I said, they could be students that have gone through the tour guide training process, which is a pretty long, almost semester long training, shadowing tours, other training sessions, meeting with some of our leadership within the executive board as a tour guide program. And so that is great training, right? That is giving them kind of the foundation of what students are also hearing on campus and what they're learning on their campus tours. Obviously, that's a great public speaking experience as well. That is necessary when they would be giving a information session to about 120, 150 people on a given day. So that's great experience. But also our students that have been working in our communication center here in our office definitely have some really great skills that have prepared them. Right, kind of pick up that phone and have no idea what question might be coming their way. And I think that is really keeps them on their toes and gives them really good training again when they're leading an information session for 45 minutes with a group of students and their family members. And you never know when you take questions what might be the question. So you're definitely in the hot seat in that session, and they're really prepared for that because of these types of experiences.
Do you look to balance the students in terms of, let's say, academics or geography or other things?
Yeah, I think within our tour guide program as well as our student assistant program, we always want to have students that have different perspectives and experiences coming together to be a part of the team. A good example here in the communication center, pointing at they're right next door to me here. Having students that have been a transfer student, for example, or is a really valuable experience in our communication center because we answer a lot of phone calls about transfer admission and if a student has gone through that process, one, they can share their experience, but also they're then a resource to their colleagues because they've gone through that process firsthand. You mentioned kind of out of state and geographic diversity. Obviously for tour guides, that's something that we obviously want to have, right? If they're giving tours and speaking with families that maybe are traveling far away to come to Georgia Tech, they have those experiences. They have, if they maybe are not, they have friends on the team that are and can share their experiences. Same thing goes with majors and different involvements and things like that.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned transfer students because Georgia Tech has these pathways,
Yeah.
where you might begin at another institution and then come to Georgia Tech to finish your degree. Do the students need to know those details, or do they have an admissions officers handle that?
Yeah, we definitely have admission officers that know quite a bit, but we train our students and they know a lot about the transfer admission process and a very intricate process, a process that looks different for students because they're at different institutions. And so, yeah, our student assistants actually become very well versed in our transfer process just by the experience and the questions that happen all year round, right? We enroll transfer students all 3 semesters, so fall, spring, and summer, versus our first year process is on a more traditional timeline, following a May 1st deadline, application opening in August with deadlines in the fall and January. And so those questions are a little bit more cyclical versus transfer is always the same questions are being asked year round. So they're well versed.
Now, does your team look at demographics? In other words, let's say you have a big theater and you might get a bunch of people from Georgia one day, and you might get a bunch of people from the East Coast another day, or California another day.
Yeah.
Do you choose people for the information session and the tours based on who might be coming that day?
Yeah, for sure. I would love to do that. Unfortunately, sometimes just with our volume, that's not always the case. All right. We could be seeing 150 visitors in an information session twice a day. Later on in March, we'll go up to 3 times a day during our what we call our busy weeks. And so it's an operation to see about 40,000 annual visitors a year. So we have a pretty set schedule of who is doing information sessions every Monday morning, every Tuesday afternoon, right? All of those are pretty set times, and same with the tour guides. But there's definitely opportunity where when we are able to do that, we do, right? So some of the local high school groups that come to campus, and we know that maybe we have a tour guide that is a graduate of that school. Well, when they usually love to give that tour, it's really fun for them, but we try to be intentional in that sense. I was telling you earlier, I grew up in New Jersey, and I always, if I can, I love doing the information sessions on kind of that first week of November when New Jersey has what's called Teachers Convention, when students have a long 4-day weekend that other states don't typically have. And so, yeah, we usually know there's going to be some more New Jersey families in the crowd. And as someone who's born and raised in New Jersey, it's always fun for me to be able to give that information session.
Do the students help exclusively in the communication center and on campus? Or let's say a student is going home for break, could they be paired with an admissions officer who handles a region?
Yeah, We do engage our students in a variety of ways. That is one thing that we do. Sometimes we'll have as students coming to some of our local college fairs that we're hosting, or if we are going back to their high school, depending on the time, we would love to utilize. Sometimes that's really hard though, when in typical admission travel in the fall, our students, when we're off gallivanting and visiting high schools, our students are in classes those times, and so makes it hard. But we definitely love to have them come to college fairs and things like that when we can, because they're able to share a different story than an admission counselor is able to.
When there are people who are really not quite ready to apply to college, like let's say seventh graders, the teacher wants to bring them to campus. Is the tour different? Is the session different?
Yeah, for sure. We definitely will gear the sessions to the audience that we have. We do typically just because of our demand and limited capacity. Most of the visits that we are going to host here on campus are going to be, especially the groups are going to be more high school aged. So the kind of messaging is fairly similar. But again, talking to someone who is maybe in their first year of high school versus someone who is starting their senior year and is actually in the Common App filling it out, that message is going to be a little different. So kind of same content, but can be presented in a different way that makes it more approachable to those students.
And do you find that there's different messaging for a student versus a parent?
Yeah, for sure. And I would say more so that the questions typically are very different coming from a parent or a student, but also still a lot of overlap. So yeah, we definitely deal with quite a bit of calls and emails too, right, over in the communication center that are coming from family members as well. We understand that parents and family members play a huge part in the decision-making process and the application process. And so we obviously want to make all of our guests just as much as the student feel welcome on campus and feel that their visit and experience with our office has been a positive one.
It's interesting. You say how long have you've been there a little over 5 years now?
Yep.
And were you at another institution before Georgia Tech?
Yeah, I was up in the New York area for about 6 years as well before coming down here to Georgia.
Since you came to Georgia Tech till now,
Yeah.
have any questions that students and parents that like they didn't ask 5 years ago, they're asking now?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, our selectivity obviously has continued to increase over the years as our application volume has significantly increased, or although our incoming class has increased, not at the same rate. And so we have become more selective over the past 6 years that I've been here, but of course over the past 10 years we've seen that trajectory. And so I think that comes just different pressures to different nuances when it comes to the admission process. And things have changed, right? When we think about I started here in 2018, and then obviously everything kind of went upside down in 2020. And so obviously some of those questions have changed now. Test scores is a great example of that. We're a public institution here in the state, and we do have a policy that's set by our Board of Regents here in the system that we're one of the 3 schools here that do require the SAT or ACT as part of the admission process. And we did have a year of being test optional, but went back to requiring tests. And that's obviously been a question and conversation that we have maybe a little bit more than we were having before COVID.
As Georgia Tech has become more selective, have your visitors looked more nervous?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of pressure there. But I think that's one of the things that we really try to demystify and reduce anxiety when it comes to the admission process. And I think that's really why we want to approach our visit in a way that students are leaving feeling hopefully more comfortable with the process, having more transparency and understanding of what happens once they press that submit button and the institution is now spending a couple months looking at their application.
What are parents and students who come together, typical day? After the information session, what in a nutshell do they see on the tour?
Yeah, for sure. So our visitors get a 45-minute information session, then followed by, again, about an hour and a half, we'll say, campus tour. It's a general campus tour. We have 400-acre campus. We have 18, almost 19,000 undergraduate students here on campus. There's a lot. And so we're only showing a small glimpse of it. And there's a lot of things that we just can't show visitors. I mean, one of our visitors would love to see our combustion lab that we have here on campus. I can't even get into that, right? And then there's a lot of things that visitors would love to see, but just are not able to. And so we show kind of the main areas of campus to give them an understanding of what campus, what a day is like here on campus. We are show them some of our main academic buildings. We show them some of our more hands-on experiences in some of our classroom spaces. They obviously see the student center. So it is, I will say it is a little bit more outside than getting to go into all of the buildings, but we do get to go into some of them. Unfortunately, we do not show a residential hall on tour. That's one of the things that I know visitors would love to see. Unfortunately, based off of where our residential halls are here on campus, it makes it a little bit of a challenge. But it's also really a safety and a privacy concern of bringing in 40,000 visitors a year into a residential hall. And I usually would share that with a parent and say, I don't know how much your child would appreciate being in the bathroom when every campus tour came through and they were just trying to get ready to head to class that morning. So we're not able to show that, but there are good 360 views of what those residential hall rooms do look like on our website.
And is your office responsible for, like, I went to several years ago, it's probably over a decade ago. You were not around then. Like I went to a junior open house, which took place around this time of the
Yeah.
year. And you mentioned admitted students days. Is your office responsible for those?
Yeah, so my team oversees all of our visits and programs that we host for prospective students, for high school counselors, for CBO professionals, anyone that is being hosted by the admission office. We have a team and a dedicated staff member to planning all of those different events and programs. So yeah, we are busy hosting lots of students on campus, counselors on campus regularly. Looking forward to having a counselor breakfast for some of our local Metro Atlanta counselors next week. And so yeah, hosting lots of people here on campus throughout the year.
For students who are and parents who are looking at Georgia Tech, it might be their first time on campus.
Yeah.
Are there dominant messages? Is there like one dominant message for a parent and a student that you want them to leave the campus with?
Yeah, for sure. I think it goes back to our motto of progress and service. I've gone on many campus tours through my career and my involvement in CIVSA that you mentioned earlier. Obviously, just due to the nature of my role, I enjoy going on those types of tours. And so I think one thing that is unique to Georgia Tech is our motto of progress and service. It's really rooted in everything that we do here on campus, whether you're an admission officer like myself, a student, a faculty, a researcher here on campus. The idea of progress and service really aligns with our mission of using technology to advance the human condition, and that's what we're all about. And so I always hope that students, when they leave campus, they understand what progress and service means and how they already maybe envision and exemplify that in their daily lives.
What about their parents?
Yeah, I think that's equally as important for them as well. I think that is, again, that's the who we are. And so I think that's important for parents to know. I think for parents too, I hope they leave knowing that their child will be supported and taken care of here on campus. We have hundreds of staff members that work with students that are current students to support them and make sure that they are successful and well-resourced to do the things that we want to see them do and make an impact in the world. Again, going back to that motto of progress and service.
Do you get a lot of academic support questions from parents?
Yeah, for sure. I think all those standard questions, I think that students and parents are going to ask on many campuses, wanting to understand about tutoring programs and support programs that where can a student go if they're having some challenges in a class, and how will they get the support that they need to be successful. So I think those are definitely pretty common questions. We know, and we would, I can't say that you'll breeze through classes here at Georgia Tech, right? You're going to be challenged, you're going to be pushed, and that you will have the support to be successful, I think is an important message.
Are there, for prospective freshmen, you're in the admissions cycle now. This is my last question.
Yeah, for sure.
For those who are going to be arriving this fall,
Yeah.
what benefits will they receive that the current students who are graduating will not be able to receive?
Yeah, a good question. I mean, I think just over the years, our impact as an institute just continues to grow. I think it is just amazing to see every day when I get my what we call daily digest, the email that goes out, kind of the newsletter email that goes out every day, and the things that are happening here on campus are just again, going back to that motto of progress and service. I mean, it is just the impact that is being made by this campus on our global community, on our local community, on our state, is just incredibly impressive. We have over $1 billion worth of research happening here on campus. That's the largest research budget for a school that doesn't have a medical school associated with it, which
Right.
is usually where all of the a big chunk of our research dollars go. And so without a medical school, that means that the research that is happening are in the 39 majors that our students are majoring in. And so I think that as we continue to move on, and each year there will be more opportunities to make impact on the world, and new programs again that again go back to that motto of progress and service. I can't say it enough, because it really is kind of who we are and the impact that we're making.
Andrew, that's an appropriate way to finish this, because I've had a lot of respect for Georgia Tech as an institution. Not only the Rich Clark, who has led your admissions team, but also the way there's an approach to an education here. You will know what you're getting here,
Yeah, for
which is
sure.
something a lot of institutions, I think, try too hard when a lot of parents come through the door, a lot of kids come through the door. But I think Georgia Tech, I come here and I know what I'm going to learn here.
Yeah,
And I know I have to be prepared to be here. And I appreciate that.
yeah, for sure. I couldn't agree more there.
Thank you very much for spending this time with me today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.